Hello everybody, this is Lodge. In today's video I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than my usual videos, as I wanted to look at some of my favorite games and things they do that I like. For this video I wanted to look at some of the games that I think have amazing openings that really hook players into playing these games for hours on end. The first game I wanted to look at is one of my personal favorites, Metal Gear Rising: Revengence. I really do think this is the perfect start to an action game. It sets up the story a bit, telling us what the character Ryan's been doing since MGS4, and then immediately after that shows us two of our main antagonists of the game and what they can do. And then we go right into the action. This is true for the entire game, not just its opening, but the combat in this game is just so good and satisfying to do, so I feel it really heightens its opening by having great gameplay from the very beginning. Now, if this opening wasn't screaming Metal Gear enough for you, this cutscene plays right after. Now, I think this cutscene really should make or break the game for you. I mean, a Metal Gear raid jumps from the water with Rules of Nature playing as its theme. This is just one of the reasons why this game is up there with my favorites of all time. Then we see Sundowner steal this politician guy. I don't really remember what his exact position is, like if he's a leader or whatever, but he basically hired Raiden. But in a little bit, it's not going to really matter who he is. And from this interaction we see what kind of person Sundowner is and what his motivations for what he'll do for the rest of the game. And after that, Sundowner runs away with his hostage. We get to do something completely awesome. We fight a Metal Gear Ray with just a sword. I mean, Raiden did take down like 20 with a rocket launcher in MGS2, but I feel like this one-on-one fight is just so cool. You have Rules of Nature playing in the background as you cut away the Metal Gear's feet. I mean, just look at this gameplay of the fight. Whenever you get the Ray's legs health down low enough, you get to this cool thing called Blade Mode, where Raiden can cut in whatever direction you want and literally cut away the Metal Gear's guns with this cool thing that Metal Gear Rising does with its music, where it'll play the vocals at these sections to make the boss fights feel even cooler. And then you pick up the Metal Gear and throw it and run it to cut it in half, which is just so cool. Oh, and we're only halfway through this opening level. Raiden continues on to save the hostage, which gives players a chance to get the hangs of the game's running parkour system called Ninja Run. To be honest, it isn't really anything special. It reminds me of the old Assassin's Creed games, but it's nice that it gives the players a chance to try it out without any enemies in the way. Also, the name of it is kind of funny, like Ninja Run. I don't know. And right when you are about to catch Sundowner, the Metal Gear Ray comes back. I guess they don't make Metal Gears like they used to, huh? The actual fight section for this boss isn't anything too great. You're just hitting the Ray's head and dodging the attacks. But I really think he'll make up for this average fight with this awesome section of it. After that segment, this level just keeps on going. You have to chase down Sundowner and finally catch him on a train. And this is where this one level really sets up the game's best characters. Jetstream Sam. Well, Sundowner talks about all the good things war has done for countries and tosses that politician right off the train. See, I told you it was going to be a big part of this game. Then you fight Sam in this cool fight where you're supposed to lose, and Raiden loses really badly. This really sets up the whole rivalry that's present throughout the rest of the game. And after our antagonist flying away in a helicopter, this first level is finally over. This is a great opening to a game because of how it really puts you straight into the game. No long quest to find a sword. You start up the game and you start slicing people and robots. And it also starts the story right away too. You see your villains and even a rival from the get-go. It does not waste the player's time in getting the game started. Now, this next game is somewhat infamous for its opening. I feel like everyone who knows at least a little bit about games knows about the memes of this game. But it's such a good opening cutscene. You wake up in first person in a horse-drawn cart with 3 other people. And then they immediately start talking about the exposition to allow the player to understand the lore of these 2 great factions. Which I think is great, starting up this potentially huge lore-driven journey early on. And then you are brought into the city. You hear some lore about the world you are in, and then a kid wants to see the soldiers, but it would not be a sight for a child to see. And then finally they stop the cart and have all the prisoners have some sort of roll call, and this one guy just decides to book it and get shot by a bow and arrow.
You're not gonna kill me! Archers! Anyone else?
Then they call you, but realize they don't know who you are, and ask,
"Who are you?"
And then you go into third person and get to customize your character. Then after you finish making the finishing touches up on your character, they say screw it, we're sending them to the block either way, and you are sentenced to die. You see one beheading, and then it's time for you to go to the block. And you hear some kind of roar. And right before the end of your game, a dragon comes out and starts burning up the city to save you. Well, he didn't try to save you, just coincidence. And with this distraction, this is the perfect time to escape. Here you're running through the city so you can learn how movement works in this game. Also, you can get burned by the dragon like I did. Then you meet up with the guard who was sorry that you would die and have him lead you through the city. You also get to see some magic and bows being used to see how some combat would work in this game. And after running through the city, here's where you get to make your first choice in the game that is loaded with different choices. And I think this one's really interesting since it does not really have too much of an effect in terms of the overall rest of this level and game. But it just really shows how this game is going to be dependent on your choices. I decided to go to the guard who was nice to me, and now we make our way through the very first dungeon of this game. In this dungeon you get to see how the game will be played. You get to loot chests, enemies, and you even get to choose what kind of weapon you'll use throughout the game and how you want to play it. This game really gives you all the basic tools of playing right from the start. It does not waste your time in having to show you these tools and that you'll get in the future. It just gives them to you and makes the game fun. And after going through this dungeon and finding countless enemies and looting their bodies, You finally make it to the sewer type thing and you fight these huge spiders, which are kinda creepy. Then when you make it out of these caves, you get to fight a bear. Though, you can just walk past it if you're sneaky enough. But I took my only chance to kill the bear. Finally, you see the exit of the cave, and then you see this door being named to Skyrim. I know it's saying that because you're leaving the first area of the game to go to the continent of Skyrim, but I kind of see it as the way of the game being like, now the game is now open to you. You get to actually play Skyrim. Then you leave the cave, you see the dragon flying away, and you finally get your first story objective that you could potentially go towards. But now the game is completely open for you to do whatever it is you want to do. And I really think this is a great opening. It doesn't shove anything really into your face. It gets you right into the main gameplay loop that I'll be going through while playing this. And at the end, it doesn't make you go towards a certain direction. It only gives you a slight nudge. It gives you a freedom that is present throughout the rest of the game. And now for the final game for this episode is one that I hold fairly close to my heart. Now, this game starts out with an FMV cutscene that shows you Midgar, one of the main cities you'll see throughout the game, and then it cuts to a train going by, and once this train finally stops, all these different characters jump off of it and take out the guards, and then your main character, Cloud, does a cool flip off the train, and you get to move with another character until he's just able to run past these guards, and you are thrown into your first combat encounter. There's really no way you'll be able to lose this encounter unless you just never make a move. But I think it's a good way to introduce you into the game's combat system, since this is what you'll be doing throughout the entire rest of the game. And after a couple of slices with your giant sword, you take him down and you level up to level 7. Then you continue on your run and meet up with the rest of the characters that jumped off the train with you. Here they give you some insight into why you are here, and you get to name your character. You can name him anything you want, but I choose to stick with the canon names for these games, so I chose Cloud. Then after some more talking, you get to name Barrett as well. Then before continuing on, you get this cool shot of the reactor to see what your goal for this mission is. And as you continue on, you fight some more enemies to help you get more adjusted to this combat of the game before any real threats appear before you. Then you get some more of the characters talking to you to give you some more insight to the character's backstory and overall lore of this game. Then you get even more of this insight through an elevator ride. This game really starts out with a lot of talking. But now Barrett finally joins your party, and you get to see what fighting with a party of 2 is like in this game. With him at your side, you continue on into the reactor, following Jesse down through these ladders and the inner workings of the reactor. Then after fighting more and more of these enemies in the reactor, you get to see where you place the bomb to blow the reactor away. And then Cloud gets this really weird sensation, and then trips an alarm, and you get to fight the first boss enemy in this game, the Scorpion Tank. Now, this boss is not necessarily hard, but it's a good start for a game that will have you fighting loads of bosses. And it even has different faces depending on what its character model is doing, which is really cool. Though I'm pretty sure Barret lies to you about what it does. Also, if you take enough damage, you get to see what limit breaks do, which are like these cool ultimate moves that do loads of damage to your enemies. I like how they give you access to them right from the start of the game. Well, after you finally defeat the Scorpion tank, you have to buck it out of the reactor before the time runs out. Oh, and yeah, the timer is even present in the battles, and in the winning animation. Which is kinda weird, since you could run out of time based on something you can't control. But after running out of the reactor with everyone you came in with, the reactor blows up and then you have to get out of the sector so you can go get your money from Barret. But as you're leaving, a flower girl asks what happened. You can either strike up a conversation or just tell her to get out of here. Then some soldiers find you and you get the choice of running away or fighting them. I decided to fight them, these two, but when more and more started to surround me, I jumped off the edge to catch my train. And that's pretty much where this first level ends. I really like this first mission because of how the game was set up from this. You know, blowing up reactors, fighting soldiers, and even jumping on the trains to get away from them. This is such a good opening for a JRPG, since so many of them have such a slow start. Oh, and the remake is able to do this fairly well as well. And that was 3 games that have amazing openings that really get you to want to play these games to see how they turn out. And I hope you enjoyed the video and have a good day. Goodbye.